Well, today we're going to be talking about usability in this episode, and my recording buddy is a dragon, so let's not get burnt. What is usability? Well, it's defined by Nielsen-Norman Group as a quality attribute that assesses how easy interfaces are to use. We can apply these principles to anything, products, our ceramic dragon here, to a ballpoint pen, to our writing, to websites, to cars, to pretty much anything that's produced. There are 5 components of usability: learnability, efficiency, memorability, errors, and satisfaction. And we want to make sure that we compare our things against Peter Morville from Semantic Studios' User Experience Honeycomb. Make sure we develop our writing in a way that's useful, usable, desirable, findable, accessible, credible, and valuable. Our products should be valuable to our readers. Remember, we're always considering our audience. So let's dive into today's presentation and see how we can evaluate some usability using some examples and some high-level concepts. Okay. Introduction to usability and comparing A to B. We have to start by asking ourselves, what are we actually looking for? And this is what usability is centered on. For our time today, we're going to look at some examples of some websites, because they are places where writing and other things are rolled together to present to clients, to users, to customers, an effective way to communicate or buy something or learn something. And we'll look at the concepts of how they put their pages together. Did they use framing well? How were their negative spaces used? One of my favorite things to talk about is CRAP, the CRAP principle of design, which stands for contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. How well do they use color? And are there wordiness issues? Are there too many words? Are there not enough words to get the point across? It's kind of like the 3 bears. You want to get it just right so the baby bear is happy. The first concept, framing. Emma Norris from canva.com, had this very nice, succinct statement up here. Visual framing is the presentation of visual elements in an image or layout in relation to the main subject. And I have a couple examples of pictures I have taken here. The one on the left is the arch on Park Street as you come up the hill to Montana Technological University. This is when I usually get to work in the wintertime, 5:30-ish in the morning, and the lights are very pretty. To the right is a picture of the Rattlesnake Cliffs south of Dillon, Montana, and you'll notice the framing I use. If the arches are the central point, I put them roughly in the center of the picture. Here, the peak is slightly off to the left, but in this case, for the picture, I was trying to capture these curves and get the foreground materials in there. Okay, so framing. How do you put stuff together on your page, and what does it look like first glance when your user comes to it? Right. Negative space. Right. From Wikipedia, you see on the left-hand side here, is the space around and between subjects of an image. And the example picture we have here, Rubens vase, John Smithson created. On the left-hand picture, you see a yellow vase. But if we remove the yellow vase on the right-hand side there, you'll see that we could say there are 2 faces staring at each other. Okay? This is a concept that is used an awful lot when companies design logos for us to look at. So here's some examples of those. If we look at the FedEx logo on the upper left-hand side, they're very common. We see it all over on the FedEx truck zooming around. Look at the negative space here. Within the FedEx logo, the capital E and the lowercase x form an arrow. Federal Express is what this is short for, and zoom, we're going that way. Look at the cleverness of the Pittsburgh Zoo. There's a gorilla on this side and a lion on the other side in the negative space. Girl Scout cookies you're probably familiar with. Their logo, oh look, 1, 2, 3 young ladies there in the logo. The USA Network on TV. We have a U and an A, but the way it is formed, the white space in between them forms the S, USA Network, the little cat in the catfish, and so on. Safari into Africa, the space between the elephant's front and rear legs is the shape of Africa. So what catches your eye? How does that interact with your brain, and what do you see? Start looking around for things and use of negative space, and you'll find it in a lot of places. Okay. We start getting into our crap principles here. Okay, contrast. How do we visually cue our users in when things are different? We use contrast, and here's an example of using that for buttons. Okay, we have on the left-hand side, add to basket button and cancel button. There is no difference between these two buttons. So if I am going to try to perform a function, let's say, my eye will get confused. I actually have to stop and read the text on the button. Add to basket to cancel. Over here on the right-hand side are some ways it has been fixed. Add to basket has been left the same. It is our control value. Cancel has changed, right? Here we've removed the raised effect of the button, so cancel looks different. Here we unbolded it, and down here we've changed it completely to a different font and converted it from a button to a plain hyperlink. We do the same thing on a page, right? Headers may be large and bold, and different level headers have different sizes, potentially different colors, and they contrast with the eye. Regular text on the page is just normal. It's not bolded, it's generally not underlined or italicized. Too much overwhelms the brain and we don't want to read it. Okay? Repetition. This principle states that usability of something increases when similar stuff is presented in similar ways. Think about a silverware drawer. The picture on the left shows a helter-skelter mix of just everything tossed in there. It is very hard to use this drawer if I want to find a fork. I have to reach in amongst all those knives and spoons and grab one. On the right-hand side, everything is nice, neat, organized into its proper bins, and I can grab the particular utensil that I want with ease and very quickly. If we can translate this into writing, elements that are similar are repeated. Okay? Every time I scan down the page and see a heading, okay, I know that there is a break in the writing, introduction, methods, results, analysis, discussion, conclusion. Okay? I can scan down and find the page or the section of the writing that I'm interested in, same with subheadings, and so on. Okay? Alignment is the third one in our CRAP principle. And you'll notice these are a little blurry, but that's okay. What we really want to look at is the alignment of the forms on the headers of those forms on the page. You notice that this one is all light and aligned, and then this one wobbles. Okay, you see that wobbling in there. Well, we've changed it up on the right-hand picture. All of our left ones are aligned with a line here, and all of our right-hand form fields, clicked, there we go, are aligned here. And then proximity, our last of our CRAP principles. The picture on the left-hand side is a bunch of items that could possibly be searched for or browsed on, say, an online shopping site. On the right-hand side, we have taken and grouped things together that are alike. That's what proximity does. We put like things close to each other. So we've added a heading, and all of our things over here that have musical stuff, we put it here. All of our electronics, we have put under the electronics header. All of our computer stuff under the computer header, and all of the home and garden under the home and garden. Much easier to scan down here and very quickly find what we want, houseware and furnishings, whereas here I really have to read every one to find houseware and furnishings about midway down the page. Okay, so contrast, repetition, alignment, proximity. Also affecting our usability is the use of color. And we have analogous colors. You can see a color wheel over here on the right-hand side of this slide. Analogous colors are colors that are right next to each other. Okay? These are analogous. Orange and red-orange are analogous. Purple and violet are analogous. Triadic colors. If we draw a triangle on our color wheel, those colors naturally go together in some scheme. Complementary colors pair well together. Complementary means they're directly across the color wheel from each other. Okay, so red and green. Oh, Christmas. Yellow and purple. Blue and orange. Okay. Quadratic, mind you, the quadratic equation in mathematics means draw a four-cornered thing in there. And then we can use the colors that each of the corners of the square touches. Then we can deal with brightness and saturation, how much white or black we add or take away from the shade of color. Now here are some bad examples of color combinations. Each one of these I have seen on a website before. It is horrendous and horrific, and your eyes scream, "Help me," and you want to move on immediately. Okay? As we get into writing or page design, if we do any website design, make sure that you avoid these kind of things. Use appropriate color combinations. Down here, this is light text on a light background, actually the same kind. There's actually words in here. Don't do this. All right, so here is our scorecard. The next section of this slide deck will be involved with a quick evaluation of a website, and we want to look at the visual design, the content on the page, the color use, and the actual information you're gathering from our 4 sections. We'll look at some online bookstores, some online colleges, some online car sales, and some online big box stores. Okay, so download this form from the Moodle site or associated with this slide deck video, and you can play along. As we get to each of the particular 8 websites, there will be 2 for each one. Stop the video or pause the video and take a look at what's on the screen and mark down for about a minute your first impressions in each of these categories. Okay, I won't take a minute for each page in the video, but I will tell you to pause when we get to each new one. Okay? So for our first one, we're evaluating the different online bookstores. The first one is Amazon.com. So pause the video here and make your marks. Our second bookstore, BarnesandNoble.com. Pause the video now and make your marks. Now that you've done that, let's take a look at 2 college websites. The first one is the Colorado School of Mines. Pause the video now and make your comments. Our second college website is Montana Technological University. Pause the video now and make your marks. Selling cars online. We're going to look at 2 car manufacturers. The first one, Dodge.com. Pause the video now and make your comments. Our second one, Ford.com. Pause the video now and make your comments. Online big box hardware stores. Our first one, HomeDepot.com. Pause the video now and make your comments. Our second one, Lowe's.com. Pause the video now and make your comments. Now that you're done, go back and look at your sheet and think about your first impressions. What about each site caught your eye? What about each site made you want to leave it immediately? Was there anything that would make you want to buy it? Right? If we are doing this in class, we will have some discussion, but think about these things, because everything you do in your writing world, people will be making these judgments about your writing as soon as they see it. Okay? Some of the content from this slide deck was adapted from these sources, and this brings us to the end of our short discussion on usability. And the dish ran away with the spoon. Well, hopefully we found something useful, usable, findable, desirable, accessible, credible, and valuable in that talk. My little dragon guy sure thinks so. We looked at some framing, some negative space concepts. We evaluated briefly color use, our fun crap principle, contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity, how those things appear on the page. And I hope you stopped the video and looked at those websites and thought to yourself, how did they do, and did that translate into my wanting to buy? As writers, you will use those same concepts to help your readers translate into, I want to spend the time with your document, my document as the writer, and I want to become more knowledgeable after having read it, and I don't want to have to work too hard to understand it. So I hope you enjoyed it. Me and my dragon are going to sign off for now. Professor B out, and stay tuned for more episodes.